Paul Wilkinson and we're filming from my home in Kathmandu. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about how I price up and tune the bowls using an electronic tuner, and I'll point out some of the differences between the bowls and the sorts of things that make a difference when I'm evaluating the quality of the sound, the shape of the bowl, the rarity, the little bits of decoration, extra sorts of features like whether they're talking bowls or not. And then there's also the balance of getting that with the market value as well, whether you want to try and keep something affordable. So some things are a little bit more profitable and some things are less profitable. So when people are starting out, quite often they try and get really thin bowls because the weights are less and you get more bowls for your money. I now never do that. I'm always looking for the best quality, and I've actually found that niche in the market where by and large the bowls that come from me are the best in the world. So as a result of that, I now supply a lot of the leading sound therapists and a lot of the sound therapy schools as well. So I'll just run through what I'm doing. So I use an app called I don't know if you can see it, iStrobosoft, and I found that, and you can see as I'm talking you're getting the notes and the sharps and the number of cents. So with the singing bowls they tend to have a number of notes, so I do this, I strike it as well as play it, and then I test to see whether they're talking bowls, and that gives me an idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through a number of bowls, and as I come across slightly different things, I'm going to point out what I'm doing. Alright, so that's a really thin bowl. I'm going to play them with these two sticks. So you notice the quality of the sound is quite thin. That's a D sharp in the 5th octave. So I write this down for, so these ones are going to go to some people who sell for me in England, and that's quite a cheap bowl because it's thin. So I then price up underneath, and if it's something unusual like a talking bowl, I then point that out. That's particularly small, it's heavier, like that's actually heavier than this bowl in weight, and it's older as well, but it's a very small bowl. So that's got a very high pitch. If it held that sustain for longer, it would have been a space clearing bowl, but it's not. So it's still a nice bowl, but again it's relatively cheap because it's small, but very nice quality. If I had the choice between this and the last one, I would always pick that. So, oh, I need to pay attention to the note. So this is C sharp in the 5th octave. So the reason people would like to know the notes is there's a correspondence between the note of the bowl and the different chakras. So some people want a particular bowl for a particular chakra, or for a particular meditation practice. Maybe they're doing mantra in a particular note, or practicing something like the Qigong healing sounds for the different internal organs, and sometimes people use the singing bowls as a way to trigger that, or to stimulate that. So again, this is a better bowl again. This is A in the 5th octave, but this was also shifting into, now this is complicated. So its primary note is A in the 5th octave, but when I now Yep, so so the played note is A in the 5th octave, but the struck note is D in the 4th octave. So I would make a note of that. So I'd say play 5th A as D in the 4th, and then I'm going to test that as well for water, because so I poured a little bit of water in. Yeah, it's also a talking bell. So the way I knew it would be a talking bowl before even playing it was, you hear that you've got those extra notes. You can probably hear like a very fast extra oscillation in it. So that's then. So I write down talking bowl. So this, you've got like a really you've got a really nice variety. You've got the 2 regular notes, you've got the talking bowl, you've got the way it plays normally, and you've also got it's got a nice strong sound as well. So you've got several different ways in which you can play it. So right, now this is more complicated. This is a really very old bowl. It weighs about 2 or 3 times as much as a normal bowl. It's quite shallow, so there's a possibility, because it's got such a thick top rim, that it won't even play. It might only be a struck bowl. So you hear it's very sharp, very high note, so it's actually 6 octaves, so this is F sharp in the 6th. Very nice and almost perfect pitch as well. So the way you tell perfect pitch is if I'll just put that on here for a minute, and then you see with the, and it's still, it stops moving up and down. So it's perfect pitch, and it's also F sharp, which is very nice. That's for the above, just above the heart, like the thymus. F sharp, perfect pitch, and the symbol for perfect pitch is a little 0. So that's very, very nice. I don't know if it plays yet. Not really. It's hard to. No, that's much better as a struck bowl. So because it's not playing, I'm going to make a note. Struck. So if this were to end up in a shop, you might not have an expert who's buying it. Maybe someone is buying it for a gift, and so it's really useful to put the information on it for people. I tend to supply a lot of sound therapists, so they usually know what they're doing, but also they're looking for specific things. So this one is A and A4. So I write down again A4, and then I try again with the water. So you can see this has a very, so it's not talking well. So it has it's nice and heavy, got wonderful old patina. So this would be hundreds of years old to have acquired that colour. People quite often try and make like with they make modern bowls look old by dipping them in acid and burying them and all sorts of little tricks, but you can always tell the colour, and actually you can tell because of the creaminess of the old bowls. Partly it's come from many years of touch, but also they have some silver and gold in the mix, and so they feel different from a modern bowl. Very nice. Also very unusual. So that's also 6 octave, but it's getting multiple notes. E6 and almost perfect pitch. Yep, and played also E6. Very nice. And now that extra high note, that means that would be very useful as a space clearing bowl. So people like Feng Shui practitioners use the bowls for things like space clearing, and they often like changing the tone, but will it? No. So although it changed the pitch when I put the water in, it didn't do the sort of wah 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 sound when I moved it around while I'm playing. So although it's halfway there towards a talking bowl, I won't count it as a talking bowl. And it's got very interesting writing on there on the side. I'm not sure what language that is. I don't know if you can pick that up in little punch dots. It's interesting. So, and quite a rare shape. So space clearing. With writing. And I've just forgotten what note it was again. E6. E6. You can see it's. I'm really fast at this compared to other people because I've done it for about 25 years. But you can see even this is sort of quite time consuming. If you have to be able to really know what the primary notes are in the bowls. So here's an interesting example. We have a decorative line here and a really round shape, and that's quite a rare shape of a bowl, and it's pretty old as well. In fact, it's so rare I don't think I've had another one exactly that shape before in the 25 years that I've done this. So this is F6, so F is for the heart chakra, but it turns into, it fluctuates to B4, but when we play again it comes back to F6. F6 and B4, so I'm going to have to put down F6 and B4. F6 plus B4, and then test it to see if it does the talking. I think it probably won't. Maybe. That was interesting. It's got these interesting harmonics in it, but you hear that very fast vibration. But that's a very rare shape. That would really be something a collector would be interested in because of the shape of it. And then I'll show you a few other. So that's sort of my process for pricing up. And then I'm going to show you a few other things which are sort of rare. So this is a rare shape of bowl, and I found that when you put a little bit of water in, you can get this very interesting sonic effect where it amplifies the sound, One of my early discoveries was that quite often the lines, when they're inside or on the outside, are indicators for the amounts of water, and sometimes also decorative marks are sometimes indicators for like sweet points when you're playing. So this is a very, very strong argument against them being just used for food. And some people think that the singing bowls didn't have any sort of spiritual or ritual origins, and I think some bowls probably are for food, but I think a lot of the bowls have very specific sonic qualities that have been built into the shape, and you wouldn't bother to be putting silver and gold, for instance, in something that was just for domestic use. So so for instance, one of the things I'll look for is when I'll have a line like that inside, I'll play it and then I'll line up the water from there to here. That will give me an exact amount of water, and sometimes it's just a decoration, but quite often it's not. Often it's an indicator for whether it's a talking bowl or not. So that's quite a rare shape of bowl. That's an A sharp 5. So and that's okay. I'll show you a few other shapes. So I'm going to show a few other things with the bigger bowls as well. So this one is probably Bhutanese because it's a little bit taller than normal, and it's got this quite a straight side, nice little bit of decoration around here, and let's have a see what we've got. Lovely, an F for F5 for the heart centre again. Beautiful. And playing with the leather. Now you see that's interesting because with the leather it's a B3. So very nice. I'm just going to test that for water as well. Yeah, and a very, very nice talking bowl. So what I'm doing is I'm playing like that with the with my hand not touching the bottom, because when it's a talking bowl I want the bottom to vibrate and I want the side to vibrate. So when the water moves from the bottom to the side, and you've got different notes from different parts of the bowl, and the talking bowls can be used to create trance states and meditation states, and also when used shamanically for calling the ancestors, for calling the spirit world. So they'll go into a deep meditation state, and they're playing like this. And after some time you get into that deep rhythm between the part of the bowl making a consistent steady sound and then that random voice-like sound. And what happens with your consciousness is your mind, you get two types of awareness coming at once. So you get the predictive side, and then you get maybe the more creative side of the brain looking for the patterns. So you end up with a state which is quite like lucid dreaming. So it's quite a useful state if you're doing sort of creative work. That's very, very nice. So that's I'm glad I found that bowl. That's really wonderful. So talking bowl. And the note again, F I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, F5. F5. I'm going to put a star symbol here, which for me is an indicator that it's particularly nice. and that's so it's just a way of me making a way of you know, like if I have someone who really wants a talking bowl, for instance, for doing something like a music recording, it would be a way of me finding something really special for someone very quickly, because like everything, that you get amazing versions of something and less good versions as well. So I'll find another couple of shapes, and then so this again is a rather rare shape with this strange little rim, an indicator line on the side. May just be decoration, probably is if it's come up that far, although you have lines here too, so I'm going to test that as well. Doesn't play particularly well with the wood. So if it doesn't play really well, I make the price significantly less, even though it's a wonderful bowl. It might be just that I haven't got the right stick yet, so yeah, so I needed a slightly heavier stick. But I might make a note that it needs a heavier stick with it. So it's quite quiet for the size of the bowl. Very nice struck. So this is C5. And now it's playing okay, but it's because I struck it and then I found the rhythm. So there's all sorts of technique like that. So if a bowl is a bit difficult, sometimes you can strike it and now the resonance is already moving. So that's G5. Okay, so that's interesting. Very flat bottom on it as well. I'm just going to try it with a bit of water, but I doubt if it's, that probably needs more. But okay, now we're finding something. So let's see what we're doing. So I'm going to tune that up. We've got two different options here. So I'm pour the water until, I don't know if you can see, until it's from the edge to that line, and then yeah. So that's really interesting, because you saw if I hadn't tested that I would have had no idea. And now I've got exactly the right amount of water as shown by the line in the middle. And interestingly, a bowl that was hard to play without the water is now easier to play. Very, very interesting, and really wonderfully loud, and such a variety of sound. So also, if you were playing this in a concert, for instance, one way is you could or if you're using for meditation again. It's still more responsive when you're striking it, but very interesting. And I'm going to show you a few other things actually with this. I didn't expect this bowl to do this, and that's a really nice surprise. So where you strike on the bowl, so this one is going to be very responsive on this top rim, because the the angle of the rim is going to send the vibration into the bowl in a slightly different way. So that sort of gives you an idea of how you could create both musical rhythms with these things, but also how you can create trance states. So you've got that mixture of the random voice-like sound coming from the water resonating with the bowl, and then the percussive aspect of it, and then you've got that flexibility. So something like that is extremely interesting and useful, and this isn't a bowl I'm really familiar with, so I'm literally just discovering it here. But this is something I would really play around with. So now that it's produced that much variety of sound, I'll now also try filling it up to this level. There's two different lines on the inside, so you've got the circular rim and the outer ring. I would now test this, so I've filled it to the outer rim, and I would also try with a bit more water. So it's really, really interesting, and I'm glad I found that so I could show you. So that's both B4 and C4. B4 and C4. Interesting. B4, C4, talking. Yeah, so I had a talking bowl that I used to use for meditation, and I'm particularly interested in sort of altered states and trance states, because I'm also a visual artist, and I have a particular interest in consciousness and how to naturally produce those powerful states of awareness and consciousness for creativity, and how to have the control over those internal states. So my sister was studying Nyingma Tibetan Buddhism, and she graduated as a monk, and I gave her my singing bowl, and then I couldn't find a good one anywhere, so I'd been using this on a daily basis, and I couldn't find one, and then it was a few years later that I came to Kathmandu, and I then managed to find something good, and that was really the beginning of my buying and collecting. So I'll just show a few other things a few other qualities that I would look for. So this is interesting. This is again an unusual shape. We have an Om on the side in Tibetan. We have this micro groove around the top, which would be quite like a form of fine tuning. It's a very old bowl. I suspect that the OM has been put on at a later date, but still some time ago. Interesting decorative lines on the inside. Let's see what we've got. So I'm going to turn the tuner on again. A sharp in 3rd octave, but playing is still A and then E. So let's see what we've got. E5. So E5 is the consistent thing. So that's actually a really good indicator, because it was producing several different notes. It's again fairly rare shape. The sound quality is pretty good, but not incredible. So I would down the value a bit. The struck sound is wonderful. I don't think it's going to do the talking, but it's always worth a try. No. So, and then here's actually this is a really good thing. It's just to show you. So on the bottom here we have a few little bits of muck. Black things like this is often a tricky way of people looking at creating, covering up holes. So now I would look inside. Thankfully there's no holes, but I would then go into the marks like that and really scratch around with your fingernail and try and check it. And then this is just nothing, it's muck that it's picked up over the years. But that's something to check if when you're looking at bowls, because sometimes you find the hole and then if the sound isn't diminished, it still might be worth buying, but the price should be a lot less if it's got a hole in it. I would always say, so I have an amazing Buddha bowl, which I'll show you in a minute, but that's split and would be mendable. Maybe I'll put the Buddha bowl in another video, but I bought it even though I knew it was split, because it was the best example and the biggest Buddha bowl I'd ever seen, and I'm going to see if I can repair it. But you know, if it had a repair, I would always say. Other dealers sometimes are a bit less scrupulous, so you need to really check. So E5. It's quite large, so this is now a relatively rare type of shape. That's the style of bowl, and it's now quite a rare shape of bowl. And let's see what else we've got here. Just trying to, oh, okay, so yeah, let's do this one. So this is actually quite a nice quality, although it's not really got much decoration. You've got a little bit of decoration on the inside, nothing really, a little bit on the turned edge, and this lovely little line on the top. It's really a nice weight, and it's got this nice thicker top rim. That's A sharp in the 5th octave again, but I need to check it now. Played, it's B5. So now A sharp, B5, but B5 again. So overall it's B5, and that's so quite a nice bowl. Let's see if we can find something really interesting to finish with, or something sort of different. Well, let's use one of these. So this is a little Naga bowl. You've got the flexibility to move this around, these often have, so that's a D6, but I've already put that in there. So D6, and you've got, with these you've got the flexibility of being able to move them over people, to move them into a space for space clearing, move them over someone when they're, maybe if someone's sitting down, if you're doing a healing with them. And also the sustain is quite long. So these are called Naga bowls. The small sizes like this are quite rare. So this would be about twice the price of that. But it's to do with the rarity, and they're much harder to find. So that's a very nice example. And here's a really thick small bowl. So what will that do? And what's interesting about this is you can see where the bronze alloy has separated out. You've got little traces of the copper now coming to the surface, where it hasn't really mixed in, or it's separated out over time. This is very high quality, so it's heavy. You've got this beautiful thick line around the top, very fine little decorations around the top rim, a lot of signs of age, so a number of hundreds of years old. A sharp, the second octave, and now fifth octave, and almost perfect pitch. But slightly difficult to play because it's so thick. I need a slightly different stick. Actually, what I need is one of these but thinner, which I don't know if I have here. Yep, so A5 and perfect pitch, A sharp 5. So where is it? A sharp 5, perfect pitch. Put that there on the bottom for people's information and for sound therapists. So here's a really interesting example. That's wonderful. Very nice. So the medium-sized bowls are better for if you want to feel the vibration into the body more easily. So that's C sharp, but when it's played, it's A sharp. So I do a few different things, so I can. Consistently D sharp and A sharp. So what to do? So D sharp and C sharp. So that's D sharp when it's played. So D sharp 4. And let's see if it's talking. Probably not, but let's try. Oh. We got extremely lucky here because we found 3 bowls which were talking, and normally it's only about 1 every 100 bowls. Obviously I've pre-selected these when I've been searching for things, but very nice. That's a nice find. So nice quality, interesting dark patina, a very old bowl as well. So talking, and So I hope you found that interesting and useful. You can see a little bit about my process, looking at the different shapes, the different sizes, the way of evaluating things, checking for water, checking whether the note's consistent when it's struck or played, trying different types of playing stick to bring out the higher or lower notes and to find the best stick for the bowl. When I sell bowls, I always pair the stick with the bowl, so I give a stick free with it. And sometimes people buy separate sticks or playing gongs as well. It's always a good idea, particularly if you've got several bowls, to have a variety of playing sticks. Just because you can bring out different qualities with them, and then you're able to get the very best out of the bowl and to get a variety of notes and different qualities, different effects from the bowl. So I hope that was useful. If you want any other subjects covered, both for singing bowls or for ritual objects or shamanic artifacts, do let me know, and do subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one. Thank you.